Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a fresh, highly strategic look at a story you probably think you already know inside and out. We are going to break down the absolute classic scenario of the fast rabbit and the wise tortoise. But hey, we aren't just looking at this as some simple bedtime tale. No way. We're actually going to deconstruct the real mechanics of performance, discipline, and persistence. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. It brings us to a really fascinating central philosophical debate that applies to basically any competition, any project, or any goal you might have. Can patience, which, let's be honest, often looks a lot like moving in slow motion, actually beat raw, unadulterated speed? We're going to frame this entire story as a real-world performance analysis today to find out exactly how and why that happens.
Section 1. The Fast and the Proud. Examining the competitors and their mindsets.
And this brilliantly illustrates our starting point. Before the race even begins, we have to look at two deeply opposing mindsets. On one side, we've got the fast rabbit, whose whole identity is completely wrapped up in raw talent and, well, pride. His defining characteristic isn't just his physical speed, it's that he's incredibly proud of how quickly he can run. On the completely opposite side, we have the wise tortoise. His wisdom manifests in this really steadfast belief in patience and hard work. We are setting up raw, arrogant speed directly against patient, grounded wisdom.
The rabbit's mindset is perfectly encapsulated in this exact quote from the source. He would literally just run around telling all the other animals, "No one can beat me in a race." Notice the absolute certainty there. This really highlights his extreme pride and total overconfidence in his natural abilities. He doesn't just think he's fast, right? He honestly believes he is entirely unbeatable.
Section 2. A Clash of Strategies. The Inciting Incident.
You see, this conflict doesn't actually start with a starting gun. It starts with a fundamental philosophical disagreement. One day, the wise tortoise approaches the rabbit and makes this profound, highly calculated statement. He says, "Being fast is good, but patience and hard work are even more important." Think about the sheer weight of that for a second. The tortoise isn't denying the value of speed at all. He fully acknowledges that being fast is good, but he firmly asserts a hierarchy of traits, placing steady, relentless effort and patience far, far above natural quickness.
So how does our naturally gifted rabbit react to this grounded wisdom? Well, he literally laughs at it. The text notes, "The rabbit laughed and said, 'Let's have a race.'" It's almost unbelievable, right? But pointing this out is absolutely crucial. The rabbit's arrogant reaction sets the stage for everything that follows. He feels so deeply insulted by the mere suggestion that hard work could ever beat his natural talent, that he demands a physical test of these two completely divergent strategies.
Section 3. The Mid-Race Miscalculation, Race Execution, and the Fatal Flaw.
Let's move to and see how this builds if we map it out on a timeline. We see the diverging executions immediately once the race kicks off. At time 1, the rabbit just speeds far ahead, relying entirely on his natural talent. But at time 2, a truly shocking strategic choice is made. The rabbit lies down under a tree to sleep. Meanwhile, at time 3, the tortoise simply executes his strategy, walking steadily and never stopping. And finally, at time 4, the tortoise actually crosses the finish line. To really understand this crazy outcome, we need to zoom in on exactly what happened at time 2. The text gives us the rabbit's exact internal monologue right before disaster strikes. Looking back at his competitor, he thinks to himself, "The tortoise is still so far behind. I have plenty of time to take a nap." This right here is the critical, fatal miscalculation. We can see exactly how an early lead bred an overwhelming sense of complacency. His sheer overconfidence convinced him that he didn't need to actually finish the work to secure the win. If we actually break down the rabbit's actions as a failed performance strategy, we see a really clear cascade of errors. First, he ran very fast initially, prioritizing a massive burst of energy over any kind of sustainable pacing. Second, he looked back at the competition instead of focusing entirely on his own finish line. Third, he assumed he had plenty of time, completely underestimating the requirements of the task. And finally, the ultimate hubris, he totally abandoned his forward momentum, lay down under a tree, and actually fell asleep.
Section 4. The Triumph of Persistence. The Ultimate Outcome and Moral.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that we can actually completely deconstruct the tortoise's winning methodology into an actionable 3-step formula based directly on the text. Step 1, walk slowly but steadily. This is entirely about maintaining a sustainable pace that won't burn you out. Step 2, Never stop. This requires continuous forward motion, no matter how distant or impossible the goal seems. And step 3, never give up. This is pure, unadulterated psychological endurance. Now, contrast that relentless, quiet discipline with the pure panic of the rabbit in his final moments. The text explicitly states, when the rabbit woke up, he ran as fast as he could, but it was too late. You can practically feel the sheer desperation there. He tries to rely on his raw speed one last time to save him, but this proves that a sudden, frantic burst of energy at the very end simply cannot compensate for a total lack of steady discipline throughout the middle of the endeavor.
The outcome is undeniable. The victor is the tortoise. By the time the rabbit finally arrived at the finish line, completely exhausted from his panic sprint, the tortoise had already won. It's the ultimate celebration of relentless execution, triumphing over erratic bursts of unearned effort.
So the crucial point is this timeless moral drawn directly from the text. Slow and steady wins the race. The source presents this not just as some nice concluding thought, but as a definitive law for success. The patient, unbroken application of hard work will consistently outpace arrogant talent that just fails to properly apply itself.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought. Really look at your own goals right now. Where in your life are you acting like the rabbit, relying on your natural talent, maybe coasting on some early leads, and depending on erratic bursts of energy, when you really should be moving like the tortoise, applying steady, absolutely unstoppable persistence? Let that strategy sink in for a bit. Thank you so much for joining me for this breakdown today, and hey, keep making that steady progress.